She cleaned the marble floors of a company she could never afford to work for, her head down, her dreams small. But one stormy evening, while finishing her shift in the CEO's private office, Amina saw something she was never meant to see. The next morning, whispers filled the corridors. By sunset, her name had become the talk of the entire building. What no one realized was that the truth she carried had the power to shatter an empire built on lies. Because sometimes, the people you look down on are the ones holding the power to destroy you. For 6 long years, Amina had worked as a janitor at Sky Helix Corporation, a towering giant in the heart of the city. Every dawn, before the sun touched the skyline, she wrapped her faded scarf around her head, tucked her young son into bed, and left their tiny apartment on the city's edge. The skyscraper's mirrored walls reflected everything she didn't have: wealth, freedom, and recognition. Yet she walked through its halls with quiet dignity, mopping up the traces of people who never once said her name. At the top of it all sat Richard Hale, the CEO, the man who measured worth by brand labels and last names. To him, people like Amina weren't invisible. They were irrelevant, until the night she took a wrong turn. It was raining hard. Lightning flickered through the glass walls as Amina entered his office to drop off a checklist. But the sight before her froze her. On the desk lay a stack of folders marked confidential, employment quotas. Inside were spreadsheets filled with names: African, Arab, Asian, crossed out in red ink, replaced with others marked preferred. Hidden behind sleek presentations and corporate smiles was something darker, a silent system built on bias. Her hand trembled as she touched the files. And then, the door opened. Richard Hale stood there, his expression sharp as a blade. His eyes flicked from the papers to her hands. "What do you think you're doing?" His voice was cold, dangerous. Amina stammered an apology and hurried out, heart pounding, shoes squeaking against the marble floor. By morning, the damage had begun. The break room went quiet when she entered. Her locker was empty, her nameplate gone. When she went to collect her pay, HR handed her a termination letter. Breach of protocol, they said. No explanation. No hearing. Just silence. But that night, sitting in her dim apartment with her son asleep beside her, she made a choice. If power had silenced truth for years, then she would become its voice. She began writing everything she'd seen: the quotas, the unfair firings, the racist hiring policies hidden under corporate restructuring. She compiled it all and sent it anonymously to journalists, activists, anyone who might listen. But the world stayed quiet. Her emails went unanswered. Stories were buried before they reached the public. The company's influence stretched further than she ever imagined. Then one morning, an envelope slid under her door. Inside was a photo, her son walking home from school. No note, just a message written in fear. Her breath caught. Her hands shook. That was the moment she realized this wasn't just about her job anymore. This was about survival. Still, she refused to stop. She reached out to one last reporter, a young woman who had once written about racial profiling in corporate America. They met in a small cafe, Amina's hands trembling as she slid the documents across the table. The reporter read in silence, her eyes widening with every page. "If this is true," she whispered, "this could take down one of the biggest corporations in the country." But as they parted, Amina felt it. Someone was watching. A black SUV idled at the corner, headlights cutting through the drizzle. She tightened her scarf and hurried home, unaware that the story she had just shared was about to explode across the world. The next morning, the headlines hit like a storm. Whistleblower exposes racism inside Sky Helix Corporation. The article didn't name Amina, but everyone inside knew who had access to those files. Security logs, camera footage, cleaning rosters, all led back to her. When she arrived at work, 2 men in dark suits blocked the door. "The CEO wants to see you," one said. The elevator ride to the top floor felt endless. The doors opened to reveal Richard Hale, calm, calculated venom behind his smile. "You think you've exposed something?" he said. "You've only ruined yourself." He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were photos of her son, her apartment, even her sister overseas. "Delete everything. Retract your statements, and this goes away." Amina's throat tightened, but she stood still. "You can take everything from me," she said quietly, "but not the truth." His composure cracked. He slammed his fist on the desk. No one will believe you. You're just a janitor with a story. But before he could say another word, Amina's phone buzzed. A message from the reporter. It's out. It's everywhere. Outside those glass walls, millions were watching leaked footage and documents that she had risked everything to reveal. The truth had escaped, and this time no power could contain it. Richard's face went pale. For the first time, he wasn't the one in control. As Amina walked out, the guards didn't move. The door closed behind her with a soft click, the sound of justice finally breaking through. But outside, flashing blue and red lights filled the street. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us," said a police officer, hand resting near his holster. Her breath hitched. Protection or another trap. She was detained for 12 hours. No charges, no explanation, just endless questions about who helped her, who funded her, who told her to speak. When she was finally released, the night air felt heavier, but she walked out with her head held high, because the world outside had changed. Sky Helix's stock plummeted. Employees spoke out. Protests filled the streets. The board forced Richard Hale to resign. Investigations uncovered years of discriminatory hiring, corruption, and cover-ups. The empire that once shined so bright began to collapse from within. Amina watched it unfold quietly from her apartment, her son asleep beside her. The world now knew the truth. But victory didn't feel like triumph. It felt like freedom finally being heard. For every Amina who spoke up, there were countless others still cleaning offices, working double shifts, and swallowing silent pain beneath fluorescent lights. Her story became more than a headline. It became a mirror, showing the world what happens when the invisible find their voice. Weeks later, when a journalist asked if she regretted what she'd done, she smiled softly and said, "I didn't lose my job. I found my voice." Her courage didn't just expose a company. It revealed a truth the world needed to face. Racism doesn't always wear a uniform or carry a weapon. Sometimes it hides behind a desk, a logo, and a smile. And as the world watched her story unfold, one haunting question remained. How many truths are still being silenced and simply because no one dares to listen?